to the SpeakUpSis Magazine Author Showcase Spotlight. I am your host, Angel Charmaine, and tonight we are shining a light on a storyteller who knows how to keep you turning pages and maybe leaving the lights on at night just a little bit. Welcome to SpeakUpSis Magazine Author Showcase interview. This is going to be a fabulous interview tonight. I am super excited to introduce to you all Andrew F. Balog. He's an award-winning filmmaker who transitioned into the world of fiction, and he has just released a suspenseful debut novel that's already got folks talking. He's actually in the process of being on a book tour, and I'm so happy that he made a little bit of time, just sketched out some time to be a part of our SpeakUpSis Magazine Author Showcase interview tonight. His book, What Whispers in the Darkness, takes us deep into the Vermont wilderness where a couple are stranded and a storm stumbles into a secluded inn. And I'm going to let him talk to y'all a little bit more about that. But I'm excited to welcome him into the space. I also want to give a big shout out before we get started to AC Toy and the Indie Author Revolution. They are part of the TikTok platform and the Discord platform. They are an amazing community that SpeakUpSis Magazine has had an opportunity to partner with. And Andrew is actually a winner of a giveaway that SpeakUpSis Magazine sponsors in that space. And we're really excited to have him here and to welcome the Indie Author Revolution into the SpeakUpSis Magazine space as well. We're going to be doing some big, wonderful things together. So make sure that you come on in and join us. But without further ado, I would like to welcome into the SpeakUpSis Magazine Author Showcase space, author, writer, extraordinaire, Andrew F. Balog. Welcome. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I see we've got some people filtering into the chat. And so just let me go ahead and let everyone know who may be new, and you also, Andrew, to know that we do include our viewers in the conversation. So if you all would like to ask any questions, just put them in the chat. I will address them as I see them. If you have comments, I will be allowing them to show on the screen as well. And this interview will also be included on the SpeakUpSis podcast. So those of you who are faithful podcast listeners, I don't know, we've got over 14,000 downloads. So all of you who love to listen to SpeakUpSis podcast, hey, you're going to get an opportunity to meet Andrew on audio platform as well. So y'all come on and make sure you welcome him. Harold Bed's Thoughts says good evening. Rainique Publishing, good evening. And oh my goodness, you've already got, she says she's already downloaded your book.
Oh, thank you. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it scares the crap out of you.
So thank you so much, Rainique Publishing, for being a part of the SpeakUpSis community and supporting Andrew already before you even hear him talk tonight. So let's go ahead and get started with this. I want to talk a little bit about who is Andrew F. Balog. And I just like saying the F. Do you actually use it as often as I'm using it?
Yeah, I only introduce myself like that. Hi, my name's Andrew F. Balog. No.
Okay, I love it. And you're so debonair. So I was on TikTok earlier and I was like, okay, so y'all want to make sure that you're on. He's handsome, y'all. Come look at him, but he got a wife and he has kids. So leave him alone, but you can look at him. You are so debonair. So listen, we love to see debonair, classy, family men in the SpeakUpSis space. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So tell us, who is Andrew F. Balog beyond the book cover?
I am a husband to an amazing and wonderful woman, Margaret, and a father to three amazing, wild children, Hayden, Isla, and Owen. And Yeah, I actually I grew up near the Canadian border in a small town called Rouse's Point in New York. I was actually born in Burlington, Vermont, and I remember from a really early age, I absolutely just loved books. I loved movies. I loved storytelling, and that love just flourished into going to film school, getting into the film industry, trying my hand at all of that and everything that that brought. And I'm 35 now, and I've never put down that love for storytelling. And it was really my wife who really pushed me and was like, hey, you're an amazing storyteller. Your writing needs to be shared with people. Put yourself out there. The worst people are going to say is no, right? So I did, and here we are. You know,
Nothing like a good wife to just keep you encouraged, keep
yeah,
you inspired. We love that here at Speak Up Sis. We absolutely love that. So that's what's up. I am happy to hear, and I already knew, but I'm glad you were able to share with other people that you've got these beautiful children. Right before coming on, we were talking about how you enjoy fatherhood and all that good stuff, and then being babies. Do you are you do you think you will share this love of writing with any of the children? Do you think that any of them are kind of beginning to look like budding
yeah,
writers?
for sure. My oldest daughter, Hayden, all the time, the kids with the Crayola crayons and everything. She's always stacking papers and like writing her name at the top, you know what I mean? And like making little flip books and running over to me and be like, Dad, I need you to staple this. And we'll staple it into a little tiny book. And she's like, Dad, I made a book too. Um, and just to see that, that's kind of rubbing off on them, and a sense of imagination and a sense of seeing the world through a lens of wonder the way I did.
Mhm.
Is really amazing and awesome. Because as writers, you do sort of see life a little differently than everybody else. When you go and you're walking through, you're going through a hike or something like that in the Adirondacks. You're constantly thinking of just like different scenarios and different maybe some storylines, some inspiration. Everything is always inspiring. So the fact that my kids are starting to kind of show that, it's definitely a proud dad moment.
Yeah. Good. Good on you. And as a former educator and English teacher, I love, love, love when parents encourage their young people to be good readers and good writers. So listen, you're starting off really well. I like you already. So listen, let's go ahead and take a look at what you used to do prior to writing. We're going to get into the books, everyone, but I want you all to get to know Andrew just a little bit so that you like him enough to go buy his work and to share his work. You told me that you were a part of the film world at some point in your life. You spent some years in the world of film, and I believe you've earned some awards in
Yeah.
that piece as well, right? So what made you return to or come into this world of writing from the world of film?
Well, even when I was working in film, I went to school. I went to college for filmmaking, writing. I went to the New School of Radio and Television with a focus on video production. Um, I think it was when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I remember my parents bought my brother the VHS remaster of Star Wars, and for my brother, and I would watch that all the time. I know, God, at this point it sounds cliche. Oh, Star Wars inspired me, but I remember watching those movies all the time with my brother Nathan, and I remember like growing up just like I want to do filmmaking. I want to go to film school. I want to do this. I want to, all through high school. My parents looked at me like I had three heads. But they're like, okay. That was a big thing with my mom and dad. They were so supportive of me for anything that I wanted to do. So I went to film school, and I got into directing, editing, cinematography. But I always continued almost every project that I did. I always wrote. I wrote the projects that I was working on. Um, and some awards I've won: best directing, best film. In 2018, I shot a film called 22 that focused on the veteran suicide rate, based on a true story. And that won multiple international and national awards, from writing to directing, from the cinematography. And yeah, I think what kind of brought me from filmmaking into really stepping away from it was the fact that filmmaking in the film industry, and this is my opinion for anybody listening in, it's hard to do when you're trying to build the family, and it's hard to do when you want to be present with your kids. It's long days on set. It's not easy. I Being a father, and being there for my kids from day one, from the moment they were born, was and is and always will be my top priority. And film just didn't jive with, I guess, where I was going with my life. And but I never put down writing. And I think that's where getting into this, where that came from, why I transitioned to that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Does the film background influence how you write your novels?
Um, I the feedback I've gotten off of my book is it's very cinematic. It's very atmospheric, and I draw people into a sense of actually being there. And I don't know if that stems from developing story bibles, developing TV shows. It could. So potentially, I think, you know, when I'm writing, I'm always thinking like, oh, what would this look like as a script, or as, like, you know what I mean? So
That tells me that I can prepare to potentially see what whispers in the darkness on a screen somewhere at some point. I'm just going to say that.
I've had filmmakers reach out to me. Old colleagues are like, "That's a good story. Can I make that into a movie?" I recently just had somebody ask me that, and I was just like, "Well, I don't know."
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about this book. First thing,
Sure.
it is an absolutely beautiful cover.
Thank you.
It looks cinematic. Here again, it looks like a scene you would see on television, right? Some kind of trailer. I can definitely see that. So let's get into it. Where did the idea for What Whispers in the Darkness, excuse me, come from?
So, my Margaret and I, when we got married, we took I think this is what you would call it, like a mini moon. But we went away right after the wedding. I don't know if you would call it that. We went away to Vermont. We went to Woodstock, Vermont, and we stayed at the Woodstock Inn. And I remember it was November timeframe, and going through the mountains of Vermont, there would be all of a sudden it would be, completely dry, nothing on the ground, and then all of a sudden you'd go over to the next mountain, and it was just snow draped trees. Everything was completely covered. The roads were winding, and a very isolated feeling. And I remember thinking to myself, gosh, what if the inn that we just stayed at, what if there was a presence there that we couldn't fully understand? And well, what would happen if the world around us started to change? We started to hear whispers, and um, a force was drawing us into something deeper and unexplained that we couldn't put our finger on, but we were somehow connected. And that idea kind of stuck with me for a while. And that's really where it stemmed from, the idea for the book, at least.
Okay, because so the end is almost like a character in itself. The end becomes a part of the fullness, just as important as those individual people who are talking in the book.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. You
Yeah.
okay? I don't think most people think that way. Hey, I'm staying at this nice inn. I wonder if it's creeped out. Sometimes I wonder if there's spirits here. No, just joking.
Well, like, I guess, I guess, like where my mind goes, and I always think about this is it's like whenever something happens, I think that um the memory of it will always be there. I know we're getting into like some deep spiritual thoughts right here, but really, like, tragic events happen all around us all the time, and most of us go around and don't even give it a second thought. But what if those travesties, or what if those events don't really go away? What if the energy doesn't really go away, and what if it starts affecting other people that come across those locations?
Oh gosh.
And so I kind of went with that, and I was like, well, what if the inn isn't just haunted, not on the surface level, but what if the very foundation of the building itself is a living, breathing entity, a manifestation of a darkness that the characters don't understand? And I don't know. I just kind of rolled with it from there.
Whew. Goodness. Okay. I told you when we had our pre-chat that I was actually going to take a leap and read your work because I don't do suspense, horror, thriller, any of those things. But having this conversation with you right now, it feels kind of like I'm not sure if you're familiar with the book The Body Keeps the Score,
I'm not.
where it talks about how trauma resides in the body. And so when something happens to people that's traumatic, even though they don't remember it consciously, when they're living, things just kind of that trauma just it affects everything that they do. They don't realize it though, and so they're making decisions based on it, and the body remembers the trauma even when the brain doesn't remember the trauma. And so that's what it feels like you're saying, like things happen in places. What if that place holds the
Yeah,
essence of the trauma, and it kind
for
of
sure.
stays there and impacts everyone I'm telling y'all. Okay, we haven't even really gotten into the book yet, but if you haven't thought yet that you're going to buy the book, I don't know what's wrong with you. You need to come on and get with it. So listen, CC, hello, good evening, thank you for coming into the space. What did I tell you? Listen, sis, I think we're going to have to add this book to the Chit Chatting Books book club reading because this one sounds like something we definitely need to be getting into. All right, so I like that. The
Hey,
end.
what's up, Nick? How you doing, man?
Hello, Nick. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are getting into the book itself, and so far we haven't even talked about characters, and the end itself is a whole character in this book. So, and you've got quite the imagination. So let's talk about the scenes, if you will, in
Okay.
the book without giving us spoilers. What do you think was the most difficult, or maybe the most emotional scene for you to write, without giving us spoilers?
There is an undertone in this book, of forgiveness, of loss, of grief. Um, when you read the book, it very much, it feels like a nightmare. It feels like something that you shouldn't be witnessing, reading, peering into. And there are certain scenes in the book that you'll find yourself feeling, without giving away spoilers, you'll find yourself feeling certain emotions towards what the characters are feeling, that you, I promise you, you weren't thinking. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how else to say it without giving anything away.
Okay, all right, all right. We're gonna rock with you. We're gonna rock with you. It's the more you talk about this, the more it makes me want to really dive into it. I'll just read it with the lights on. I think that's what I'm gonna do is read it with the lights on. So the
Yeah.
academic in me wants to talk a little bit about suspense and creating suspense, and because there are quite a few writers who are connected with Speak Up Sis Magazine, and I know a lot of the writers I'm connected to, they typically write nonfiction. They typically will be writing memoirs and things of that nature. But for someone who is contemplating suspense writing, how do you create suspense without tipping your hand too early into the meat of it? How do you kind of do you have some type of technique that you follow to build that suspense without tipping your hand too early?
When you say tipping your hand too early, such as giving away foreshadowing to make it seem predictable.
Right, without getting to the without climaxing too quickly
Yeah.
in the story.
When I was in film school, I had a really amazing teacher that told me about this technique, that I use all the time. The funny thing is, when I was being taught this technique, I never I never gave it a second thought. It was just a part of the unit that we were doing. Um, the technique basically is you come up with the most craziest, most insane thought, situation, scenario, what have you, for your character. It doesn't matter what it is. So you have it right here. You have it in the middle. Work your way back earlier in the day. What got them to that point? Now, you don't have to write that down, but think to yourself, what put my character in this position? What made this happen? What and how do they get out of it? Um, it sounds pretty basic, but when you're creating a scene and it's something as wild, I guess I call it reverse engineering of a jump scare, if you will. Um, I've literally sat there, wrote a scene where a character is sipping on a cup of coffee, and randomly out of the blue, this wild, insane event happens. If you, as the writer, already know, okay, what happened earlier in the day that provoked this, and how does the character get out of this? Maybe they don't, maybe they do. To me, I have always pulled off twisted and um suspense and these 360s 180-degree twists in my novels that people do not expect. Even when I was doing this in television, I would do this in television and it would work every single time. Um, yeah, I guess it's just like work with that technique, and it sounds really basic, but it works.
Sometimes it's those simple, basic techniques that people
Yeah,
tend to move beyond. Everybody is looking for something big and fabulous to do. Oh, are you doing this or that? And it's foundational things, things that you're taught, like you said, from a professor in a class. I remember taking a creative writing course,
yeah,
and when I in my undergrad, and the things that I remember, his name, Mr. Christopher, good looking man. But I don't know what it is about these writers. My goodness, but they always good looking. But anyway, um, his name was Mr. Christopher. That's what we called him. And when I tell you, he was amazing. And a lot of the techniques he taught us in undergrad, I still use in my writing to this very day. So, those of you who are watching, who are writers, make sure that you go back to this part, rewind it, listen to it, really sit with it. So if you're thinking that you want to maybe step into the genre, the suspense or thriller genre, you can tap into that technique.
and additionally, I have a quote I'd like to read to you
Go ahead.
that I think really speaks to anybody looking to get into suspense, psychological thrillers, anything. And it's really important. It's by Stephen King. I put it in the book because I took so much inspiration on how I created the suspense in my book from this quote. And it reads, nightmares exist outside of logic, and there's little fun to be had in explanations. They're antithetical to the poetry of fear. Sometimes the unknown is what sticks with us the longest. And to me, there's so many instances in novels and movies where we're constantly explaining every single little detail. I've always tried to do the opposite because I truly believe that what sticks with us the longest is, and I'm not talking about cliffhangers. I'm talking about when you're watching a horror movie, what always spooked the hell out of me was the unknown. Why is it happening? You don't need to explain why it's happening. It just is. Sometimes unfortunate events just happen.
Do.
And it's that unknown. It's that inability to rationalize
Right.
things that I really do make us sit there. If it's done correctly, you sit
Yeah.
there like, oh my God, like what are these characters going through?
hmm
You know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
So when you read the book,
hmm
you'll come across certain scenes where you're like, what? Where did that even, why, when, why, what did that even come from? And everything's connected and everything works, but I did it in a way that I think will really kind of
Stick with us.
stick with you long after the last page.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. Oh gosh. So listen, the chat is chatting, okay? And Latoya Dr. Mac, she said she had to come on over she said YouTube was moving too slowly for her. She had to come into a different space because she's enjoying the interview. I am definitely enjoying this interview as well.
Yeah.
Harold has thought, she says exactly, the unknown is what keeps you there. It absolutely does. And the movie that I think what that I thought about when you said that was all of the Final Destinations. And
Correct.
when things happen,
Why
you're
does that
just like,
happen?
how did that even have, like,
Yeah.
what made that happen? What precipitated that? What came what how would you what caused it? Because this is something that happens every single day. We
Yeah.
overlook it, we see it, we never think, and then like why today? What was it about today? What was it about this point? What is it about this thing? Right. And so now it has me every time I'm behind a log truck, I'm definitely going to move over. I'm
Oh, for
definitely
sure. Me
going to
too.
go.
Like if I see a log truck, I was no, no, I've seen this movie.
It's the unknown thing. Even though you know that there's a 99.9% chance that it's never going to happen to you, the
Oh, for
fact that you never figured out what caused that thing to happen, and that like it was so realistic that I could be the 0.1%, the
okay.
0.0001%. I could be that, right?
Yeah, for
That
sure.
could definitely happen. That's what's up. Okay, all right. So we're gonna keep moving because I can sit here and talk to you forever and ever about this, because I'm feeling like I'm gonna be getting into thriller and suspense, and that's not even my lane. Oh my goodness. Was there a particular moment in the story that kind of made you pause? Did you have maybe a writer's block moment that you had to push through, or did you just really churn this thing out?
Um, I remember here's a fun little tidbit. I won't tell you which chapter. I actually ended the story. The story was going to be much shorter than it actually was. In January, much shorter. Um and I remember in January, I came down with COVID. So I was sicker than a dog, but I was like, wow, I'm alone in a room. I can write. I think I busted out something like 15,000 words additional. It was just an insane, yeah, in like a week. And it was just flowing, boom, 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 boom. And this, it's funny looking back at it, the things that I added and the expanding of it, I couldn't imagine the story without it. Um, yeah, I never really fully had um a brain block or a writer's block, you know?
That's good. I
Yeah.
think that's a good thing. And I think sometimes when
Yeah. Thank you, Latoya. I did. I did.
what you say,
Latoya, she said, push through the sickness. That I did.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when you know what you have. When you know that what you have is something good, you just kind of go with it. I have yet to have in any of the works that I published a place where I just had total brain fog, writer's block. Cuz usually I don't write unless I got something that I really want to say. And so
Yeah.
I know what I want to say, and it's
Yeah.
there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Um, and like, let's face it, but I had the entire story mapped out. So, aside from coming up with the prose of,
Mhm.
the actual, the meat and potatoes of the book, I knew the story outline. I knew where I was, point A to point B. I knew where I was going with it. So,
Yeah. So that helps. I think people who just kind of jump into things, they jump into a story that they haven't really fleshed out well,
yeah,
would probably cause some moments of trying to figure some things out. So I could totally get
yeah,
that. I can totally get
for
that.
sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and begin to wrap this conversation. Although it has been a lovely conversation. I am sold. You're going to be the first thriller that I've ever read, and I'm definitely going to let you know what I think. And I'm even going to try to guess. I'm going to see how good my guesswork is. I'm going to try to guess which chapter you were going to end it in. I'm going to see if I
Okay.
can figure out like where would this have ended. And then I'm going to say, "Hey, was this it?" And then you could choose to tell me yes or no, but
Yeah.
I'm going to still try to guess. Um and I'm thinking I can do this and make the executive decision. I have some of the Chit Chatting Books book club members who are actually watching right now, and I'm
Awesome.
thinking we may make this our October considering what goes on in October. We may make this our October book club reading so that we can, have a little oomph in the month of October. So, do you already have another book in the works? You
Book
got
two,
it.
book two
Book number two.
is currently being written. Yep,
All right, little sneak peek. What is it? Is it a part two of this book, or is
it
it a totally
is.
different?
It is. It is. A release date is coming soon. So is a cover reveal. This book became number one in the US for occult horror. It became number one in India, number one in the UK. It has been wildly successful. And I can't wait to show you what I have up my sleeve for book two, because I have I recently wrote a scene for book two that I kind of had to turn the lights on, and I was like, okay, this is kind of freaking me out. I gotta take a minute here, um, which typically doesn't happen. So
Oh, I'm excited, and it looks like everybody's excited for you.
yeah,
We've got a congratulations for being
thank
a
you,
best-selling author
thank
in
you.
in the chat. Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for joining us. Anne has a question for you.
Go ahead, Anne. Yeah.
Did you follow the characters at some point in your writing? Let them show you where they're going in the plot.
Yeah, I know what you like. Did they kind of lead the story? Is what you mean?
And is that what you're referring to? Are you saying did the character sort of lead the story? We're taking just a pause for the cause right here because we really want to answer this question, Anne. And if anyone else has any questions, and while Anne is responding, she said yes.
So yes, specifically the character of Mia. Um, Mia, I followed. It's kind of weird because what I'm about to say, I'm going to sound like a crazy person. Because like in our minds as writers, like the characters almost become their own entities. I joke with I joke with people that like writing is the best outlet, because if we spoke to ourselves in public, we'd be considered crazy. So when we write, that's like the excuse to kind of like deal with all the voices. No. Um I had Mia, I was really, really invested in her story, because I think if I met Mia, that person in real life, she would kill me be, because of what I put her through. Um, I found myself thinking while writing, like, man, what would this character do? How would this character deal with it? And in almost like a poetic way, her journey so far figured its way out just by the series of events that were happening in the story. So that's a good question. I like that question.
As a writer of this type of fiction, is it kind of like what actors say when they are embodying a character? Do you sort of stand in that character's shoes a bit to
Yeah, that's
write
what
it?
I was. Yeah, like earlier when I was saying you come up with this crazy situation, and that's how when I'm developing the book, that when I used to develop TV shows and developing the book, like you sit there, there have been times where, especially in this book, um there was a certain scene that I wrote where I put my characters into a very precarious situation, And I was sitting there, I'm like, how do we get out of this situation? Like, there's realistically, like, there's no way out of this scenario. And how do you make it grounded to where it makes sense where they can get out? So yeah, I definitely have sat there like, man, I need her to get out of this. How do I get her out? What do I do? And that's what I find to be the most fun part about writing, you know?
Yeah, I think that's super cool. I'm trying my best to wrap this conversation. That's why I told you I give myself between, I'm like, listen, it's a 30 minutes, but if you got some extra time, like I love it because I love books. I love
Yeah.
writing. I love talking about the processes that you go through, right, in order to write these books and create these
Yeah.
characters. Our book club, we just finished reading a romance that was written by a man. And what I just thought about with what you just said,
Yeah.
with a female character, with Mia, you said you're thinking, how could she possibly get out of this? But a part of what I think about as a writer is, how would a woman like Mia get out? because because the male counterpart, he may think differently, right? He may move differently, how women and men think. And so when
100%. Yeah.
yeah, do you understand? You get it,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Because
because and you have to think to yourself, how Andrew would
yes,
handle a situation is completely different how my wife would handle a situation.
exactly.
And so, I think I honestly, because I joked around with Margaret, when I was writing this book, like I took inspiration from her and how she would deal with certain situations, her mannerisms. And as a writer, I think you'll agree with me. You want your dialogue to sound organic and real for not only that character, but that character. The worst thing you can do is write a female character, write a female voice in a male's voice in a masculine way.
I have to interject. Oh my goodness. I just said this in this
Did
romance.
you?
Yes, he said something. And as we were talking about it, I said to the other members, a woman would never say that.
Yeah.
A woman would never say that. Even though I love the storyline and all the things, there was a specific line when I heard it, it made me stop. And I heard the author instead of the character. And that was a bit off putting for me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're not doing that in your writing. It sounds like you taking the time to really say, okay, I'm not Mia.
Oh, well, correct. And when you're writing these characters, of course I can relate to Jason more because I'm a guy. But I really, really, really think that, like, if you want to create not only a novel that feels lived in, a world, a storyline that um you want your characters to feel real. So you have to think in that character's mind, or thinking, well, what would this character do? And that's why it's so important. And I've heard that some writers don't do this. They don't create character sheets. Um, the character sheet meaning, what's their motivations, what are their pitfalls, what are they good at, what are they bad at, creating, having that personality outline of that character can help you immediately jump back in and say, well, this isn't how this character would deal with this isn't how this character would talk. And that's huge. That's huge. That 100% goes into 100% goes into the prepping and research for your book, I think.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I totally agree. And you're spot on, sis.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Spot on.
Yeah.
You seem to really love this genre. Have you thought about writing in any other genres?
I, believe it or not, am writing a romance at the moment.
What?
Yeah, I am. Um, yeah, I am writing. It's called Requiem. And it takes place during World War I. It follows a husband and a wife. The man is drafted into World War I, and he's reflecting upon his life with his beloved wife through a series of letters through the final days of the war. And I really think when that comes out, I hope people like it. I'm using a lot of my atmospheric and sense of lived in world building for this book, and I really think it's going to gravitate to romance readers. I really do. So
That's what's up. Well, listen, you got that in the bag, honey. I believe that you are just a real writer. You're a bona fide writer. I'm looking forward to following your career as an author. And I like to ask all of my guests who come into this space, because Speak Up Sis is all about sharing your story to inspire the stories of others. So I like to sort of wrap in a place of encouragement. So,
yeah.
what advice would you give someone who has a story in their heart but hasn't written it yet?
Don't be afraid to write it. And don't take no for an answer, because I truly believe that everybody has a story to tell, and you shouldn't let perceived obstacles stop you from pursuing what you want to do. Um, God, I did that for the longest time, and I really think that it's always no unless you ask, right? And the last thing you want to do is say to yourself, well, what would it be like if I tried? What would it be like if I asked? So don't be afraid to just do it. Even if you screw up, like, who cares? Um, we miss 90% of the chances we don't take.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Great, great, great advice. Thank you so much, Anne, for coming in and joining the conversation. Anne says she loves it, her kind of story, your romance story.
yeah.
Tamika, thank you for joining us tonight. She says, I love it. The ladies are saying, yes, come on, romance. Absolutely. Who cares?
Yeah,
Just
let's do it.
do it. Absolutely. Andrew, this has been so, so, so good. Thank
Yeah,
you for
thank you for
sharing.
having me. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you for sharing your journey and sharing your process, sharing this chilling, thrilling, yet amazing story with us. Before we get out of here, where can people grab a copy of What Whispers in the Darkness? And
Um,
how can they connect with you online?
Absolutely. So I'm primarily active on Instagram and TikTok. It's Andrew Balog Writer. Um, and you can find my book. Oh, right there is the IG and TikTok handle. You can find my book at any bookstore you go into. If they do not have it in stock, request it. They will order it for you. I am in Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. Um, and yeah, um, and Amazon. You can always buy the book on Amazon. And yeah, if you do read it, I hope it scares you. I hope it freaks the hell out of you. And most importantly, I hope you enjoy the book. So,
I believe we are all going to enjoy this book. Yes, absolutely, Harold Best Thoughts. I believe that we are all going to enjoy the book. I know that I am. It'll probably scare me just a little bit, have me up at night just a tad bit longer.
Good.
But I'm looking forward to reading it. As soon as we're done, I'm gonna go grab. I'm a paperback girl. I need it to be tangible. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm probably, if you've got a way for us to order directly from you, because I need mine signed. Okay, because when you're big and famous, real famous, real household name kind of book author famous, I
Okay.
need to be like, yeah, like I know him. I know him. I actually like, this is his real signature, not a stamp. Like this is
Yeah.
real. You know what I'm saying? So I need mine with a hand signature. And I want you to make sure you say hello angel. So it makes it really real. Okay.
Yes. 100%.
Okay. That's what's up. So listen, everybody. Please make sure that you all get connected with Andrew F. Balog. Make sure you grab a copy of this book, his debut book. Stay connected with him in all of the social media spaces, and make sure that you come on back to
Yeah.
Speak Up Sis Magazine. We are budding, we're growing in this space as well, and we want to support your work as indie authors. So feel free to come back, feel free to check us out. You can also connect with Speak Up Sis Magazine on social media. You can go to speakupsismagazine.com and you can actually subscribe to our beautiful magazine, both print and or digital. We've got lots of wonderful things in there. If you're a writer and you would like to have your work published in a periodical, feel free to submit your work to Speak Up Sis Magazine. We would absolutely love to publish your poems, your short stories, your excuse me informative articles, whatever you're writing. We want to be a space for you to be able to elevate what it is that you do in this world. So again, Andrew, I'm going to say thank you. I appreciate you. Indie Author Revolution, it's a win-win. You listen, you set the bar high.
Oh, okay.
You
Thank you.
set the bar high for the people to come and give us something good. You gave us goodness. You're authentic. We love your personality. We love what you have to share. And yeah, thank you. I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Most definitely. All right, everyone. Listen, y'all, thank you for showing up and showing love. I want you to be sure to follow Speak Up Sis Magazine on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. Make sure you grab a copy of What Whispers in the Darkness and keep an eye out for what Andrew has coming up next. We're going to be reading his romance novels and whatever else he puts out. Okay. So until next time, everybody, keep speaking up, keep reading, keep showing up for the stories that matter. I want to say my name is Angel Charmaine. I'm the editor in chief of Speak Up Sis Magazine and the owner of Speak Up Sis LLC. And y'all have a good night. Bye.